All right, it is 10 o'clock on a Wednesday, last Wednesday of the month. You know what? Well, maybe some of you know what that means. Off the shelf, it's time. Let's jump in. I appreciate you all being here. Uh, we're all busy, and we appreciate your time. Um, Today, we're going to talk a little bit about agility. We're going to try to define it as a business term, but we're going to spend some time on it as a sports term as well. Just a reminder, we record these things, so if you prefer not to be seen, maybe don't turn your camera on, um, or there are ways to not be seen. But we are recording it for future generations to come back and review. And we'll be sending this link out to everybody that participated or even signed up to participate. My name is Rick Murdock. I am one of the leadership trainers with the Leadership and Organizational Development Group that works with DHRM in the GovOps agency. You'll see there on this slide my email address. That's rsmurdock at it says gmail.com. That's not correct. utah.gov. rsmurdock@utah.gov. If you'd like to reach out and further engage in any of the stuff that we're talking about today, feel free to do so. rsmurdock@utah.gov is my email address, and I love engaging with folks about things, even if it's to push back a little bit on what we talk about today. For next month, be prepared. This is the last Wednesday of November. Sydney Alton will be presenting on winning with workplace wellness. In today's fast-paced work environment, workplace wellness is essential for sustaining employee health, happiness, productivity. When leaders and organizations promote workplace wellness, employees are most engaged, they take fewer sick days, and they experience less stress. So she's going to cover that concept with a specific discussion on the value of workplace wellness for employees in the organization, effective workplace wellness practices and resources, and then some functional strategies for creating a culture of wellness. So if you're interested in that, feel free to sign up for that one. You'll get an email first Tuesday or Wednesday of the month with the announcement for this one, and you can sign up there. Again, that'll be November 27th, the last Wednesday of November at 10 a.m. Those of you that are looking for a webinar on the last Wednesday of December, you'll be a little disappointed. We usually take December off for obvious reasons. There's just not a lot of people around on the last Wednesday of December. So we won't be doing anything on December, but we'll be back in January, and we'll continue from there. All right, let's take a look at agility as a concept. The same words that describe top athletes, they also can describe organizations and teams. Words like fast, flexible, strong, powerful, with endurance. I've been thinking about this a lot recently for some reason. Actually, there is a reason. I'll talk about that in a second. But there's something very satisfying about watching a highly skilled athlete perform at their highest potential. The Olympics comes to mind, or NFL, NBA, NHL, especially here in Utah where we have a new NHL team. We're paying attention, aren't we? We're watching. And it's very satisfying to see these skilled athletes really perform well. And quite often we find ourselves kind of reacting audibly to an athletic play. A slip tackle or extending to make a catch or a dunk in traffic. It's really exciting, and it's undeniably exciting to watch an athlete do something that would be, let's just say, difficult for us average Joes to do, if not impossible, right? I think it partially is because, well, there are a lot of factors and variables that go into how we feel about sports, but partially it's an athlete's ability to surprise us through movement, which is called agility, the ability to move in a way that's a little surprising. And there is a work application to the term, and we'll talk about that in a second. But let me tell you why I've been thinking about this a lot recently. I was roped into playing fantasy football for the first time this year, and I was roped into two different leagues. by the way. So as many of you know, a lot of you probably do fantasy football. When you're roped into playing fantasy football, you start to pay very close attention to individual players. And for the first couple of weeks, I couldn't take my eyes off of the highlight reels, that's my guy right there. You start to notice long runs, you start to notice missed tackles, you notice first downs, you notice touchdown passes, maybe more than you would when you're just watching a game casually. Big defensive plays. All of these exciting plays are aided by individual player agility, which makes what makes one player really good at slipping tackles and another one not. Most often it's their ability to move reactively at the right speed and with the right timing, the hesitation, the acceleration, finding the right path. It's agility is what it is. By the way, my record in fantasy football in the 2 leagues that I'm in, combined record is this.
Oh, they work on the TV. Maybe it's just the sound.
Make sure that we're all muted here. There we go. 3-11. So, I'm not making the playoffs. And it's been fun, but I don't know if I'll do it next year. But anyway, agility. Let me see if we can look at an example here. This is an example from a college football game.
Closer to the 8. Here's Green. Trying to win a foot race against Washington. Gets a block to the outside, and he will take it in. He's healthy this football game.
It's really the ability to move in the moment, reacting to a stimulus to keep going. That's really what agility is. And there is an obvious comparison to what we do in our daily jobs. And we'll get to that in a second. Oops. There we go. Here's how it's defined, at least by ScienceDirect.com. This is how they define agility. And this is probably more for athletes and for people that are moving. But agility is the ability to rapidly change body direction, accelerate or decelerate, influenced by balance, strength, coordination, and skill level. The ability to change directions quickly, which is influenced by balance, strength, coordination, and skill level. Agility can be improved by first developing an adequate base of strength and conditioning that is appropriate for the difficulty level of the athlete. I'm starting to feel some ideas of how we might apply this term to our business work lives. Here we are, state of Utah. Fairly or not, bureaucracies like state government are more often described with words like deliberate, stable, intransigent, fixed. Oops. I'm going to stop making it move because that's obviously messing it up. But a bureaucracy is not a dirty word, by the way. It's a form of work organization. It's the historical meaning of bureaucracy refers to a body of non-elected government officials, kind of benign. But nowadays it's also understood as an administrative system used by not just government, but corporations, public institutions. Nevertheless, the words bureaucracy and bureaucrat are often thought of as pejorative, right? They're kind of insults. And nobody goes into a room and says, "Hello, everyone, I'm a bureaucrat." Conveys the image of red tape, excessive rules, regulations, not being able to be imaginative, a lack of individual discretion, where we're all automatons that just kind of do what we're told. There's really heavy central control in a bureaucracy. And this is interesting to me, with that central control, there's also the idea, and for fair or not, there's the idea that there's no accountability in a bureaucracy, right? Nobody is held accountable. So in other words, bureaucracies by definition are not agile. Well, you might be surprised. Sometimes agility can come from surprising places. Anytime I think of agility, I almost always think of this guy.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the human thunderball, Chris Farley.
We could go on and we could show lots and lots of clips showing Chris Farley as an agile person, surprisingly so. And sometimes you find agility in surprising places. That clip's from 1993, 94, somewhere in there. I'm of the age where that was what I was watching at night. He doesn't look particularly agile, but he was. In other words, we really should check our expectations, because maybe there's hope for bureaucracies. Maybe these monolithic, huge, lumbering organizations actually can come out on the stage and flip a couple of cartwheels. I don't know. Let's talk a little bit more about this, because according to well, facilitators like me, let's make sure that we're muted here. According to, facilitators like me, we really like analogies. And so analogies kind of help with abstract thinking. They help with brainstorming. It's like the old, how is your problem like a bicycle? And then you figure out how your problem is like a bicycle. Well, the spokes are this and the seat is that. And it helps you kind of put your problem in a perspective that allows you to think abstractly about it and then brainstorm about it. So we're going to try to apply the concepts from the athletic version of agility to our organization. But I'll need your help. So be ready to react quickly and in real time, be agile. According to the Sports Science Collective, agility has 3 important elements. And those 3 elements are this is a very agile clicking of the button. There we go. There are elements in the physical realm, technical realm, and then the cognitive realm. And we'll talk more about each of those individually. But the way they define agility is a rapid whole body movement with change of direction in response to a stimulus. So keep that in mind as we talk about this. Let's look at each of these 3 areas kind of more in depth. First with physical. The physical element, which I admit is really the most easy to observe, it looks like this. Leg muscle quality, core strength, and speed. So these are the raw materials. By the way, the specific qualities of leg muscle that they're talking about is strength and power, obviously, but also the ability to react quickly, like that quick twitch muscle. So if you were to take these terms, leg muscle quality, core strength, and speed, and compare them to our organization, what might you say? For the state of Utah, what is our leg muscle quality? Should we try this? Let's go to the chat and just tell me what you think leg muscle quality might mean in the state of Utah. What are our legs? Who or what are our legs? Any ideas? Lots of resources. The structure itself, our staff, our workers on the floor, our employees. Customer service, frontline workers, leaders, foundational employees. That might be our leg strength. That just might be. So if that's our leg strength, then what is our core strength? What is the stuff that kind of gets that helps us stand up straight and have a little power? Our values, our policies, our staff. I like this. And final question here on this slide. What inhibits our speed? We have a reputation of not being all that fast. What inhibits it? Our core strength is our guiding principles. Poor communication might inhibit us. Lack of training, bureaucracy, funding, arbitrariness. Ooh, we could dig into that one, couldn't we? Often it's communication, often it's policies. Policies might slow us down. House Bill 261, we won't get into that one. Micromanagement, lower salaries. Oh man. Yeah, there are some things that legitimately do kind of slow down our speed. Is everybody seeing the slides? We have someone that's not seeing the slides. Are we all seeing them? Give me a thumbs up if you are. Okay, so it looks like maybe something on your end there, Stephen. All right, so it's kind of a fun exercise to think about. Now, the physical, our physical setup is strong. State government is almost by definition stable. And so we do have some strength, don't we? We do have a nice, stable base of strength to work from. And according to, at least according to this group that's defining this for us, that's an important element. Let's take a look at the technical elements here. This is for, again, for athletic agility, foot placement, acceleration, and lean posture. Technical elements really just include, putting your feet in the right place. And acceleration probably means how quickly you can move from standing still to really moving. It's a little different from speed. It's kind of the rate at which you get to speed, right? It also implies the ability to hesitate as needed. And it's really the application of your muscle quality, isn't it? Your muscle quality will help with acceleration. It also implies, and finally, the lean posture, which implies direction and strategic use of your center of gravity, seems like that might be important too. Now, all of these things are areas that you can kind of practice and put in place, like where to put your feet. You can learn that, grow in that area through practice. When to accelerate and when to decelerate and when to hesitate and when to move. That's kind of a thought exercise. And then finally, that lean posture, leaning towards the right, in the right direction, using that center of gravity and momentum where it needs to go. We have an organization here that can do this. We can put our feet in the right place. We can accelerate at the right time, at the right pace, and use hesitation as needed. We can lean in the right direction. We can. And so maybe, just maybe, this big bureaucracy is ready to be agile more than we thought. There's one more element, and this element is probably the most important one. This is the mental component, the cognitive element. It's really key. This one's key to agility. This is the difference between the player that can slip the tackle and those that can't. And here are the four elements. Actually, there's four of them this time. Visual scanning, anticipation, and pattern recognition. And then one more, knowledge of the situation, context. For me, these are easily translated into our situation as state employees. It's basically looking forward and anticipating things that are coming, understanding context, and anticipating the clients, customers, and public's needs, and reacting to the information that you've gathered. So it's looking ahead, gathering data, and then reacting to that data. Something very interesting about this cognitive element that is basically, that is basically rote training doesn't make you more agile. The other elements, the strength, the placement of feet, the acceleration, all of that stuff, none of that makes you more agile. That makes you better at being agile if you are agile, but it doesn't make you agile. The only way to get more agile is through practicing cognitive stuff. And that cognitive stuff can only be practiced in real time. The Sports Science Collective, the people that are defining this for us, they say you can do all the leg presses, all the foot speed drills, and all the acceleration practice, but until you're actually reacting to something, some stimulus, it doesn't really build agility. They recommend a nice game of tag or steal the flag. And remember, we defined agility as a rapid whole body movement with change of direction in response to a stimulus. The stimulus is that outside variable that we react to. So practicing change of direction, practicing just moving, changing direction isn't really enough. It has to be a real life obstacle in order for it to build real agility. So the question is, are we agile? pull those up. Those are our 3 elements. Have you ever, you can even maybe raise your hand if this describes you. Have any of you ever had to implement a new law or executive order or some federal grant or something like that in a matter of months? Anybody had to do that? Raise a hand. Yeah. We are agile. We're thrown into a high stakes game of tag, or maybe steal the flag is a better way to describe it, every February. We're trained in it. We're anticipating change and movement. Farrah Edwards says, you mean like going from the office to completely remote work in 2020? Yeah, I do mean that. And we react to it and we make it work, right? Okay, Mary disagrees. That's okay, Mary. That's just fine. You can disagree with that. But let me give you some reasons why it might be the case. And we'll talk more as we get into this. We have to. We don't have a choice. A law is passed by the legislature or an executive direction from the governor. We have to implement it, and we implement it well most cases. So we're reacting in real time. I'm not sure. I'm guessing my friends who are project managers who saw the title of this off-the-shelf webinar, and our software folks at DTS, they've probably been patiently waiting for this. But several decades ago, the word agile was kind of co-opted by software developers, and at the time, the software development area was trying to fit product development into the traditional project management processes. But those processes were just too slow, and projects were often late, over budget, coming out just in time to be obsolete. And realizing that they needed to be able to react faster and iterate and test with actual users as they want, these folks developed what is now called agile project management, which consists of specific steps and processes, including a project management approach that involves breaking down projects into small pieces, manageable tasks, and completing them in short iterations. We're not going to get in too deep to that area, the actual project management of agile project management, but I am interested in the concept that more recently spun out of that idea. The agile project management spun out this new idea, and it's just basically called general business agility. The Dale Carnegie Corporation, they describe it this way. Becoming agile takes more than smart people and good data to become agile. Along with good tools and processes, it takes the right combination of resilience, social intelligence, and capacity for action, aligned with a clear organizational purpose to create a strong foundation for agility. So what it takes is some resilience, social intelligence, capacity for action. We have that. The state of Utah has that. With a clear organizational purpose, we have that. So we have, at least, to Mary's point, we have, maybe we're only doing it once a year, but we do have the ability. Do we do it often? Yeah, we do it fairly often. Do we make it our default setting? Probably not. Why do we need it, though? Dale Carnegie Company continuing. According to a recent Forbes Insight survey, more than 1,000 C-level executives, 81% of executives, consider agility to be the most important characteristic of a successful organization because of today's rapidly evolving requirements. We've got customers and business environments that demands constant innovation and constant change, and it's only accelerating. And I think maybe good. Mary agrees with me. Thank you, Mary. That makes me feel better. Anyway. I think maybe that's where we need to kind of focus. We can do this, but we need to focus a little bit. All right. So the Business Agility Institute, a whole institute dedicated just to this concept, says it this way. Business agility is a set of organizational capabilities, behaviors, and ways of working that affect your team that afford your team the freedom, flexibility, and resilience to achieve its purpose. Let me translate that for you. Business agility is finding ways to do your job, at least according to this definition. But maybe it's a little bit more than that, right? We've got freedom, flexibility, and resilience listed there. This is not a workforce with its head down making widgets, right? If you're going to be agile in the business space, you don't put your head down and just make widgets. You get your eyes up and you're looking to the future. With this freedom, teams can instinctively seize emerging and unforeseen opportunities for their customers' benefits and bring focus to how work is conducted across the entire organization. It's not just processes and procedures, it's principles and ways of thinking that lead to new organizational behaviors and norms. It's finding gaps in the processes. It's finding areas where we can be more efficient with our processes. It's doing a little bit of strategic planning in order to move the needle a little bit. Oh, and there's one more line to this definition. No matter what the future brings. Now, the one thing we do know is that the future will bring change, and we'll have to react to it one way or another. If we're anticipating the change, then we're ready to go. We're more agile as we go into it. All right, so let me just kind of go through some ideas here. These are, we're calling these the domains of business agility. There's 5 of them, and we'll go into each one individually. There's an idea of engagement culture within organizations that are agile. There's a responsive customer focus. There's the leadership is people first. Our operations are a little bit more flexible, and we really push value in our deliveries. So let's look at each one of these individually. The first one there is engagement culture. And an engagement culture is really a place where we're going to value learning. And we're going to value transparency, psychological safety, and unity. Let's talk about each one of these kind of individually. If we've got an engagement culture, that means that our workforce comes to work wide-eyed and excited to deliver value to our customers. That's a hard place to get to sometimes, and it ebbs and flows a bit, and that's just natural. But there's some things that we can do to try to get engagement kicked in, and they're kind of listed here. In today's workforce, we like learning new things. We like to be caught up with what's going on. In fact, it's really necessary for us to feel like to help us be comfortable in our positions. We have to be learning. We have to learn what's changing and what's moving. We have to be innovating. Also, it really helps when we have a transparent organization, an organization that will talk openly about successes and failures, an organization that doesn't hoard information in certain silos, an organization that actually shares skills across teams. Oh, wait, we have this thing on our team that we need to do. We don't know exactly how to do it, but the guy in that team knows how to do it. Let's get some training from that guy. Cross-training across teams really leads to engagement culture. It's also a place where folks are safe to share their successes and failures. That psychological safety piece is extremely important. It's where we feel comfortable sharing mistakes. And when we can share mistakes openly without fear of punishment, now we want to be able to mitigate mistakes and fix them, but without fear of just being beaten down every time we reveal some weakness. Then we're going to do much better because we can actually mitigate those mistakes and address them and get incrementally better from the mistake instead of just successes. We get incrementally better from our mistakes and our successes, then suddenly everything's the same thing. Successes and failures are basically the same thing at that point. We're just getting better all the time. And then finally, this type of culture leads to one unit working together towards a common goal or towards common goals. And that's a really nice place to work. And it also leads to being ready to face change and face it well. All right, the second domain, the capabilities within the second domain are as follows. This is, again, responsive customer centricity, where we really focus on customers. First thing we should do is we should ask ourselves who we provide value for in our team, because sometimes it's hard to define the customer for state government. Some agencies are only servicing other agencies, like GovOps, the agency that we're housed in. Our job is to provide value for other agencies. So our customer is essentially other agencies. But we're also trying to please the legislature and the governor, and we're also trying to please an executive director. And there are lots of things that we're trying to provide value for. So ask yourself, who do you, as an individual contributor, as a worker at the state of Utah, who do you provide value for? That's your customer, whoever that is. And maybe there's a list of a bunch of them, and maybe they're different groups. And sometimes those groups might have competing interests. So maybe ask yourself, who would you prioritize at the top of your list? That's your customer. That should be your focus, getting value to that customer. That sounds boring. No, that gives us a real focus. It helps us prioritize our tasks, and it helps us get where we need to go. We should be proactively responding. How does that work? Because proactive implies that we're doing it beforehand, and responding implies that we're doing it afterward. Maybe this is that acceleration piece, or that the visual scanning and anticipation piece, or maybe even the contextual knowledge that we were talking about earlier when we were talking about sports agility. I guess it's just ready to move at the right moment, with the right amount of speed, with the right amount of force, that kind of thing. And then finally, integrating new ideas. When somebody comes to you with an idea, we at least examine it, right? Whether that be an employee or a member of the public, boss. But sometimes that's hard to do, because we are very regulated. But if we can change the mindset where new ideas are not something to be pushed down, but something to be explored, maybe we can get there. All right, let's talk about people first leadership. To maximize our business agility, we're actively building a place where we connect with our coworkers and teams, where we're connecting with strong and appropriate relationships. Do we have that in our teams? Give me a thumbs up if you have that in your team. You're feeling like, yeah, we have good relationships in my team. It's a lot of thumbs. I kind of get that feeling. Our teams are kind of part of home, right? They're part of they're almost, it's not family necessarily, but it's something like family that is a place where we can feel at home. If we don't have that, it's worth working on. It's definitely worth working on. Connection with your coworkers in an appropriate way. And some coworkers are going to want to be more open than others, and that's fine. But having that connection where we trust each other and we have each other's backs leads to some really good business outcomes, and it makes us ready to react in real time when we need to. Next, we hold ourselves and each other accountable. Now, this word accountability is another word that I've been thinking about a lot recently. We tend to think of accountability as something that happens after a project, right? We're going to hold somebody accountable for screwing up. It's not what it means. Accountability is the idea that somebody is going to be in charge and have ownership over their task from the beginning all the way to the end. And then we're going to check in on them every once in a while. If we're the leader of that project, then we have a post here, and the project is the fence line. And we have a post here, the beginning and the end. but we also have check-in posts along the way. And posts, if we're talking about a barbed wire fence, posts are what keep the barbed wire up, right? We have to make sure that our person is continuing on that path, and it makes it more stable. Quick check-ins. We wouldn't want to do 1 million posts. That's called macromanagement, and the fence becomes too expensive at that point. But an occasional, regular check-in to check in on accountability. Do you still have ownership over this, and are you still making progress? Is really, really helpful. And it's what workers want. They need that feedback. They need to know that they're still on track. They need to know that the project still means something. They also need to know that somebody else isn't working on the same project, doubling up efforts. So check-ins are really important, and accountability is important. We look to maximize the potential on our team. We're looking for, and what we mean by this, if we're the leader of a team, we are looking for skills, talents, abilities, and interests that people have, and we're looking to maximize them, whether that means getting them some development in that area, or getting them some experience in that area, or helping them learn a skill. Whatever it is, we're looking for that, and we're trying to build on it. And sometimes that means, once we've maximized their potential, sometimes that means that they are ready to leave us. And that's hard, especially if we've built those relationships. But it's the right thing. It makes the entire system stronger. So we aim for that. We love to showcase the talents and skills of our team. We're great at what we do, and our customers and stakeholders are going to see it, and they're going to benefit from it. All right, let's look at flexible operations. This one's probably a little tougher for us, where we are fairly regimented. We have a little bit more girth around our structures, right? A strategic mindset can really help us work within our parameters, though. Here are some areas that we should be thinking about. Adopting strategies is needed. Dynamic funding. I'm not so sure about this one for state government. Those funds are kind of set and locked in. We probably don't have a ton of fluidity in our budgets, or even in our structure, because it often takes a literal act of Congress to make changes to them. But we do know how to balance risk and governance. We're good at evaluating risk. And so we can leverage that in context of all these other things. We can deliver needed outcomes within our mandated structures. We show it every single year. We can deliver within our structures. So remember that strength and stability is part of agility. Remember how we kind of talked about that at the beginning? If we combine the strength and stability that we have at the state government with the cognitive ability to change direction as needed, there's really no limit to what value we can bring to the people of Utah. There really isn't. It's a mindset change that kind of goes from we are stuck to we are solidly placed, and now we can make changes as needed. And I think the best example of this is the driver's license division, right? Anybody that's gone to get their driver's license renewed in the last 3 years or so knows that there is a difference in how the value is delivered to customers there now. And it took probably all of these things that we've been talking about this morning, So it really is a kind of a mindset change. Oh, I love the cheering. Thank you for cheering for that. Let's talk about the last one here, value-based delivery. This is how we can do it. We want to give value to our customers. We defined who our customers are earlier, and whoever that is for you, we're looking to give value to them as efficiently as possible without making them jump through a bunch of hoops. And we can do that. We can get creative with our workflows. We can spend time really prioritizing tasks and outcomes that we need to look at as the most important. We should spend time doing that. We can look for ways to be more efficient in our delivery. And we can keep our eyes up, scanning the horizon, looking for emergent opportunities, things that are coming down the road that might be useful to us. We have the ability to do all of this within the context of where we sit. And hopefully we can figure out a way to do that. The great thing about that is we have the best people working at the state of Utah. We have great teams, and we all are looking to add value. At least the majority of us. Everybody on this call is looking to add value. I'm pretty sure of that. So here we are, just plugging along. We have everything we need to leverage true business agility. In fact, it turns out we're already doing it all the time. So take some time this week. Look at your team's processes. Where are there opportunities for greater efficiency? Who are your customers? How can you get them value more quickly? Are there strained relationships on your team? How are you going to address that? What obstacles are headed your way? A little strategic planning can go a long way in helping you mitigate challenges as they present themselves. You can do the head fake, you can do a crossover, you can break their ankles, and you can get in for the touchdown. I'm mixing metaphors here, but that's what we're aiming for. We have everything we need in order to be an agile workforce. We have it. It's here. We show it when we're playing that game of Steal the Flag every February when we play that game of Steal the Flag. We'll have to edit out that Friday. Anyway, that's what we're looking for. And I wish you luck on that. Thank you for your time and your attention today. A little short and sweet, I guess, but don't forget, next month, Sydney Alton will be presenting Winning with Workplace Wellness. We're going to talk about the value of workplace wellness for employees and in the organization, effective workplace wellness practices and resources, and functional strategies for creating a culture of wellness. Be sure to sign up for that. You'll get the email for it on the first Tuesday of the month, maybe the Wednesday. I appreciate your time and your attention. We'll see you next time. Thanks, everybody.